So,
welcome to the Top Order podcast. A strong English contingent on the pod as the Ashes phony war has started. Me and Jamie here, just in case David Warner pops up with any more idiotic comments during the course of the recording. We will, of course, though, talk the cricket that's going on around the world. A washout in the first T20 between New Zealand and England. Have we learned anything from that? What are Australia going to learn from their T20 series against India? One-day international series, I should say, against India. 46 for 4 in the first game at the moment. Match delayed by rain as we record this, but we'll chat a little bit about that. We'll also talk a little bit of Pakistan and South Africa. Spin and now reverse swing in favour for them in their home series. We'll talk some Women's World Cup, some Test 20. Is there any interest in another format? And some other bits and pieces all coming up on the Top Order podcast. Stay tuned. Well, we have had the famous last words recording this pod on a Sunday morning here in the UK. Lippy says none of these segments will be longer than 5 or 6 minutes. So strap in for the longest podcast of your life.
Do you want me to put a timer on for any of these segments, Binksy?
Mate, honestly, your iPhone battery will die, I think, if you do that. It will just take up far too much real estate on the screen. There's not a lot going on in terms of, finished series and results and things that we can talk about, but there's obviously a lot of cricket going on, a lot of bilateral cricket going on. And of course, the Women's World Cup, which I think we will spend a little bit of time talking about because that's shaping up to be a fantastic finale to the group stages there. It looks like the sort of 6 teams that can probably just about make the semi-final. So, we won't talk too much about the permutations, but we'll certainly talk about some of the cricket that's gone on. But let's start in Lippy's spiritual home, the Hagley Oval down in Christchurch. Looking at the TV pictures of that yesterday, Lip brought back some fond memories of our last Top Order pod tour down to Christchurch, where we saw Australia New Zealand test match a couple of years back. But the ground absolutely packed. It seems like there was a great vibe down at Hagley for that game. The second game there, I think, as well. They're playing 2 games there. Then they decamp up to Mount Maunganui, don't they, for some games.
Oh, Eden Park.
Yeah, it was Eden Park
Thursday night. Yes.
Eden Park and then Mount Maunganui. Is that right? Is that how the travelling roadshow goes?
Yes, they're all over the place. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. What did we learn from that game? I've got one take as a result of the sort of English media. But you boys first. What did you make of it? Too early to be playing cricket?
Well, it seems that way with what we've seen from that Aussie series as well, and here in New Zealand, the weather certainly isn't playing ball, and rain. I'm sure rain will come up again when we talk about a few other things New Zealand related later on in the podcast. But I guess we talked about it last week in terms of what Raj and I were sort of saying, what we want to learn from this series. I don't know that we necessarily learned a lot from that bowling attack, because what I really want to find from this series and then the West Indies series, sort of the white ball stuff going into the T20 World Cup, is another banker bowler. And I think we saw that Mitchell Santner coming in is going to make a huge difference, because just like it's funny. I was talking to a few people yesterday and I was just saying, like, he sometimes can look so innocuous with the ball, but he's just so smart. Like the changes of pace, even just the areas that he bowls the ball, he's bowling to his field. So, he might bowl a short and wide one, but it's intentional because that's where he wants the batter to hit it. So, for him to come in and bowl 4 overs, 1 for 20, again, he didn't rip out the heart of England, but he came on straight away after the power play, was really influential. And the fact that New Zealand hopefully is just going to be able to bank on him to bowl 4 overs every T20 game is really, really crucial. So, seeing his value was, I guess, another reminder of how good he is. And I thought he rotated the bowlers as well, really good, which was something I didn't love about Bracewell in the Australia series. So, just the smarts that he displays is something I was really pleased to kind of get another reminder of.
If you want to ask me what I learned, and you can ask me what I learned.
What did you learn?
What did you learn, Baldy?
I'm glad you asked, fellas. I learned that Jimmy Neesham is low-key underrated as an important piece of this New Zealand puzzle. Even if you take 3 all-rounders to the subcontinent for the T20 World Cup, he makes things happen on the cricket field that very few other people can make happen on the cricket field. Even his catch at deep long on
was good.
Was an underrated, very, very good catch. It's not easy to catch the ball in the night sky in Hagley because of the way the lights are set up. They're quite low. And on a number of occasions, you saw the ball go up, get lost without the lights, and then come back down again. So,
yeah, a few boys later in the innings suffered because of that.
Suffered from that. I mean, Duffy's one, he never got anywhere near it. But yeah, so low-key good catching, but just he made stuff happen. Yes, he went for about 1,000 runs in his first over, but he picked up a key wicket. And so for New Zealand going forward, I feel like he is a must-have in your team because he's got that ability to just change the game for you, even if he's not necessarily the best, like second or third seamer that you're going to take to the subcontinent. But I think he can do a job for you.
I was saying yesterday to a few of the other guys, in the similar conversation, I want to be in a situation where we're not relying on Jimmy Neesham to bowl, though, because he can go. He can go the distance, but he, like you say, he does make something happen. But sometimes that thing that happens is he goes for 18 off 20 off the over. So
I hear what you're saying, and I agree with you. But Kyle Jamieson looked enormously slappable in a couple of those bowling stints at the crease, particularly early on. If he misses his length, he gets it right into a good slot. And I can't remember who it was. If it was Brooke or Bethel, it was one of those England batters just took to him like a duck to water. So, like, even New Zealand's premier bowlers, Henry aside, can look a bit gettable. And I think that's the thing that I'm sort of starting to get a little bit concerned about. I don't know how you feel about it.
Well, that's sort of what I was talking about because in Jameson's defence, because I've always been a little bit hesitant on him in the white ball stuff. I think I think his record will show that he's, a far superior test bowler at the moment.
Completely different story.
Just because of the lengths he bowls and stuff, I think I think that will always remain the case personally. But, I was impressed. He does have a lot of change-ups now, and those change-ups actually, he came back later on in the innings, and I thought he did reasonably well there. But again, I don't know. He's not someone I want to be going into a important T20 World Cup game with Kyle Jamieson as one of the bowlers that we have to rely on to bowl 4 overs.
I think you're right, though. If he's taking the pace off the ball, and we saw it last night, like as soon as New Zealand took the pace off the ball and did something with it in the wicket, it was very, very difficult to get away. And I think part of that is the surface playing into it. It was a little bit slow. It was a little bit grippy. It was a lot less emerald green and a lot less kind of, brown than we thought it was going to be for this time of the year. But I think that the key for New Zealand and the key for Jamieson is if the ball's not going to swing early, because if he can get it to swing, he's very dangerous because of the height and the lengths and so on and so forth. But if he's just straight up and down pace on, he's gettable. And so he's got to resort to the change-ups and the pace-off deliveries, which I thought actually New Zealand did a pretty good job of last night.
Well, yeah, English boys, what about you guys? Can you tell me who's missing from this England lineup in terms of the batting? I mean, batting's all we saw yesterday. I sort of thought, when I looked at that lineup, I thought top 4 looks about right. But, 5, Banton, Curran, Cox, 5, 6, 7, I sort of started going, is that like who am I missing out from that might be in the mix there? Yeah.
Ben Duckett, Jamie Smith.
Okay.
With the two that I noted down, I'm not going to say Joe Root because they're not going to pick him in T20, but they should. So a couple of players missing. I think from an English perspective, Jamie and I probably just need to strap in for this over the course of the next 2 or 3 weeks, in that everything is leading into obviously the Ashes, and that's where the press want to talk about this from an English perspective. So they're trying to sort of connect what's going on in this game to what our chances are going to be at the Optus, which is ridiculous. And the rhetoric here is that the batting stuttered and all that kind of stuff. Conveniently forgetting that the average total at Hagley Oval is 153. So we got the par score. the English version of Jack Callis, Sam Curran, coming up with the goods down the order.
Oh, not again. Not again.
Vindication, Binksy.
Exactly.
Oh, no.
Vindication.
Harry Brook transferred his skill that he has that everyone drops catches off him.
Yeah,
to Sam Curran.
Sam Curran, yeah. I think I think what we've kind of learnt from this is very little, other than it was wet after it rained. Those are probably the main components, I think, that we've learned. But I think it is actually that we're in the right hemisphere. Players are flying in. I think, Archer and Wood arrive and kind of they'll join up with a squad and stuff like that, so that they can have a bit of togetherness before that series, I think. And it's not a bad place to go and play cricket, is it, New Zealand? The boys will be enjoying the off field.
Certainly looking at it, that pitch, as soon as the bowlers took pace off, it became pretty tricky to time. And I think certainly the dismissal of probably what I'm thinking, Butler, Smith in particular, Banton probably got, sort of caught mistiming the ball, trying to take it on and getting caught, low on the bat. So I think from a New Zealand perspective, definitely when they pace off, it became more grippy, as you say, Baldy. What did we learn from England? Agree with Binksy, really, kind of not a lot. We hit par. I think it looked at the time you're looking at it and some of the extravagance. Brook was super aggressive, but that's just the way he's going to play. It doesn't always look great, but that's the mantra they live and die by. But the rhetoric is, very much, how can we use this to predict what we're going to do in the Ashes? And I don't think there's any relationship between the two whatsoever.
Zero.
Yeah. Is there anyone in those sort of fringish guys that you are hoping will kind of shine though? Either of you?
Banton, like domestically, Banton has racked up lots of runs for Somerset, and in kind of particularly in the T20, and you sort of hope that he can make that transition to the international stage. I think, you sort of look at him, what he does, and he's kind of producing week in, week out, and has done that for a number of years. So I think he's one that stands out. I'm probably still expecting more from Bethel, I think. I think there is so much more to offer, but maybe that's just the hype that kind of goes around him. As we say, the English Jack Callis, he's now producing the goods. So you just hope that is consistent.
In all seriousness, though, with Curran, I think for a period of time he was the first name on the team sheet for our T20 side. Picking up big money in the IPL, and has sort of been used up the order as well in some of that cricket, opening the batting for the Chennai Super Kings, and certainly batting in the top 5 at times. So I actually think he's a really, really important, really important option for England in white ball cricket moving forward. So look, I hope that whatever damage he's done, and it can't have been cricket. It must have been to do with something off the field, I think, that led to him falling out of favour. He's obviously now got the opportunity, but there's a couple of guys to come back in. I definitely think he should be a fixture of that white ball side moving forward. I think before we move on as well, I'll just say I actually really, really like Frankie Mackay as a commentator. But is there serious austerity measures down with New Zealand TV? They had the same 3 commentators for the whole 20 overs. Have they not got an alternate roster? Did someone's bags get lost? Was Air New Zealand delayed again? What was going on?
Yeah, I noticed that as well. I wasn't sure. I don't know what was up. Yeah, they're normally rotating them around. They've got a few other players, obviously, people in the team, commentators. They've lost Craig McMillan. Craig McMillan's now, working with the White Ferns, so he's off doing coaching stuff. So I don't know, but I don't know. Yeah, we'll see second game around whether that changes, because that was very interesting. It was nice to see, Frankie Mackay, friend of the pod, Shane Bond, friend of the pod, and Neil Wagner, who I've had a bit to do with as well in recent times. Those 3 on the mics, but
not debating their quality. It was I was kind of like, when's the commentary box change coming here? When am I going to have to turn off the audio because Scott Stevenson pops into the commentary box?
I won't have any Scotty Stevenson slander on the spot.
Okay, fair enough. Right, let's move on.
Very, very quick before we move on, I did think it was interesting. Devon Conway was not selected, and Tim Robinson was ahead of him. I don't know if that signals anything, but again, something we might look out for as the series goes on, because we've talked about Conway and Robinson a little bit over the bit.
Do you think it's entirely moustache related?
I don't know. Robinson does have a good moustache. Matt Henry, I was delighted to see his moustache is retained.
It might have been that Tim Robinson was on the player mic, wasn't it? Apparently, Devon Conway refused to do it, so got left out. That's not true, by the way.
Well, the fact they only had 3 commentators, they needed someone on the player mic as well.
They needed some on-field talent as well. Yeah, and
he's got quite good on the player mic, actually. I don't mind him. He's got a little bit of larrikin about him. He's a little bit cheeky. Maybe could have been concentrating a little bit harder when the dolly came to him at deep point.
I do think they should go straight to the player who drops the catch when they're on the mic.
100%.
They should go.
100%.
We just want to have a chat about that. Did you lose that?
Tim, that was an absolute goober. Did he get caught in the lights or not?
I love the idea of sitting in a team selection meeting and having these questions around how good is the moustache and what they like on the mic. I think that would certainly spice team selection meetings up for sure.
Well, it was for Australia in the 80s, mate.
Yeah.
Well, there was just a New Zealand selector's job going, and maybe this is why we didn't get that job, and Gavin Larson was reappointed after things. The only other thing I was going to say, boys, is after about 10 minutes, I found myself just wanting hula hoops the whole time. I was sitting there, started noticing that little branding, and I don't feel like I'm not normally convinced by advertising, but I just sat there going, oh yeah, I remember hula hoops. They're pretty good.
You can't get a hula hoop in New Zealand, can you?
You must be able to somewhere. There'll be UK stores, I would have thought, that you can get them, but you don't see them.
Yeah, you're not going to. You wouldn't have been able to pop to the dairy and get them though.
No.
Lipper. No. Yeah. Funny enough, my wife said exactly the same thing. She's like, "Oh, hula hoops." Yeah. So, do you know?
So
what?
if they want to sponsor the pod,
absolutely. We would take payment in kind as well, won't we? A box of.
Yeah, we can sit here.
I'll have a box of salt and vinegar sent to my house.
Crunching away.
Yeah.
Put on your fingers. Did you used to do that?
Yeah.
Not anymore, mate. Fingers are too fat. Right, let's move on. Let's move on.
Good 6-minute segment.
That was an 18-minute segment, Lipshaw.
Yeah. We're doing well.
Minutes. Brilliant.
We're 18 minutes in.
Let's go Australia, India. As we said, this game is in progress as we're recording the first ODI at Perth. India currently 52 for 4, match delayed by rain. But yes, suffice to say, it looks like it might be nibbling about a bit with Sharma, Gill, Kohli and Iyer, all the victims of seam at the moment. But yeah, Baldy, I suppose over to you. Similar, I guess, in many ways to the England scenario, different sort of playing personnel. Is this got any correlation to the Ashes, or what do you want to learn from this little series?
The things I want to learn from this series are threefold, Binksy. And so where would you like to start? I'll give you the 3 options.
Number
3
one.
options. Right. Option number 1 is the search for a postman, because obviously Postman Pat's going to be out for the first test. He may be out for longer.
I see what we've done there.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Nice.
And look, this is a bit like the part of the movie Hot Shots, where they have the mission to go in to get the men, that went in to get the men. And
this is going to be 18 minutes as well, Baldy, I promise you.
No, it's not. It's not. What I'm looking for is not the guy who's going to replace Pat Cummins, but it's going to be the guy who replaces Pat Cummins. Because Pat Boland, who also always delivers. No, his name is now Pat Boland, because he also always delivers.
Yeah, he does.
So he's going to be locked into that first test squad for sure. It's about who's going to be behind him in the depth order. So you've got a few of the Aussies in there sort of vying for spots, but if they're going to play Stark and Hazelwood all the time, we're not going to learn as much. I think we're going to learn a little bit more if we see more of Bartlett, if we see more of Sean Abbott, for example, in this ODI series. And so those are the guys who I'd be looking for to stake a claim for depth, because we don't have the same depth as England does, I don't think, in our pace attack, because we haven't seen as much of those guys. And we're not going to see Brendan Doggett who I think is probably the guy that they'll go to next in the depth chart if Pat Boland is not available. So that's what I'm kind of looking for, but I don't think we're going to get an answer to the search for a postman question. What do we want to hit next?
Oh, we always. I know that Marnus is someone on your list as well, so I always enjoy a bit of Marnus chat.
Right. Well, let's go to look. Queensland is a great state. Queensland is the greatest group of people in the greatest state and the greatest nation on earth. And look,
your words, not mine.
My words, not anyone else's. I don't speak for anyone else on the pod. These opinions are my own. But look, the way that the Queensland community's come together over the last couple of weeks in this, what's been known now as the 2025 loose bus change appeal, the amount of copper coins, silver coins, gold coins that have been collected across the great state of Queensland and are just making their way down to Allan Border Field is tons. I mean, people are reaching into the centre.
Do you still have copper coins? I thought you got rid of copper coins. I thought it started at 5 cents.
Look, we're still allowing the 1 and 2 cent pieces, the 5 cent pieces, the echidnas to make their way down to Allan Border Field. Queenslanders have been reaching in between the seat of the couch, centre consoles, that sort of fourth drawer down where all the shit is, and rubber bands and so forth. And it's all making a big difference because Marnus has put together in his last 5 or 6 innings 400s. And so if this is genuinely an open process for who's going to sort of be the opening partner for Usman Khawaja in this first test, if it's a genuine open process, Marnus Labuschagne is streets ahead of everybody else from a form perspective. So, like, if George Bailey is genuinely saying that this is an open process and it's going, if the currency is runs, he has absolutely got to play. The only reason that he won't play is if it's not an open process and they've already said to Sam Constas, you're going to be our guy, or if incumbency and future star potential is worth so much more than weight of runs. And I mean, even if he makes 100 in this ODI series playing for Australia, I'm still not sure that he's going to get picked going forward for this first test. But like, he physically can't do anything else. Like, you drop a guy and you go, what are you going to do? Oh, you got to go make runs. All right, well, I'll go make 400s in 6 bats. Like, what else can he do? Like, do you genuinely think, guys, that this is an open process and that someone other than Sam Constas has got a chance to be selected in the first test? Because I genuinely don't know.
I'll keep it really, really short for a change. I don't want Marnus in the side if that's the choice. So if the choice is Marnus or Sam Constas, I want Sam Constas coming out to bat against that England attack every minute of every day of every single part of this Ashes series. Now that might come back to bite us in the arse when he has a 700-run series, but you always ask that question, who do you fear the most as the opposition? And I would fear a guy that has averaged 60 in Test cricket for, I know that's dipped, but, at one point he was averaging in the 60s and everyone's saying he's the next Steve Smith. So absolutely, go ahead, pick Constas. I'd love it. Thank you very much.
What's
Yeah.
Oh, there you go, James.
Labuschagne's a fighter. Labuschagne's tough. He probably brings an energy as well to the field. I know less about Constas, I suppose, but I think he brings that. He's had past success as well in terms of his links with the Australian team. So yeah, I'd be with Binksy. I'd want, as an Englishman, I'd want Constas to be opening the batting.
Yeah, and just keep him off the player mic if he's in the side is all I can say, please. Thank you very much.
Well, look, it's ironic that they've called it the loose bus change appeal because, I mean, don't tell Marnus about anything to do with appealing because he's just a serial appealer. But look, it seems to be going well. It's raising funds. He's making runs. I know that Sam Constas is a prodigious talent. I know that I said 18 or 12 months ago or whatever, if we pick him in the test team, we've got to stick with him. But he looks like he needs to have 2 or 3 seasons at Shield level and make 900 runs a season. Like Pat Boland ripped his front pad off for naught in the Shield.
Out. Going down if you ask umpire Lipshaw.
Well, look, the fact that it's in the scorebook,
LBW
Pat Boland
different.
says naught. Yeah. Look, he's the most prodigious talent. If we're looking at this from a talent perspective, Constas is more talented than Marnus. If you're looking at it from a future value point of view, like totality of future value given to the Australian cricket team over the next 5-10 years, 100% Constas over Labuschagne. But right now, it's a non-question as far as form is concerned. So what I want to know is not who should I think it should be in the team, but who does George Bailey think should be in the team, and what can we learn from Marnus making runs or not making runs in this next 3 or 4 games against India? I actually thought that Constas might have got to go on the ODI team, to be fair, because he's the kind of player that opening the batting, he could go and just kind of ramp everybody and do the flicks and all of the kind of exciting stuff, and it might actually be the thing that frees him up to just go out and do all of those things and kind of get it out of his system. Because I think part of his problem is that he's kind of conflicted about, should I ramp over first slip, second ball of the game, or should I, let it go? And I think those are the things that getting in his head. If he just goes out there and does it in like white ball cricket, it might get it out of his system and clear up his decision-making process. I don't know.
Baldy, we'll talk about this in the preview to the Ashes, but that for me is the really big difference between the way the England guys go about it and Constas. Constas has got to this stage that we're talking about him and that he's been given his chance by playing that way. And then the minute he gets in the test team, he tries to bat like Jeff Boycott. Whereas you look at someone
he didn't. He played that amazing innings to start that everyone got everyone hyped up, and then he had a few failures and everyone went, oh, he's too loose, and started getting on him, and that swung things around.
And that's my point. And contrast that to, someone like Ben Duckett, who they let go out and do that. And then they let him out to do the press as well and say, yes, please, we'll chase 7,000. But anyway, we digress. Baldy, you've got point 2.
That was point 2.
I'll just interject, but you kind of see the same thing with like Sai Sudarshan as well with India, like made a stack load of runs playing a certain way and then go into the test side and look like there's a back of, walking around with a rucksack full of rocks on there. I just had a quick question for Baldy around where do players like Marcus Harris and Pete Hanscom fit into this? Because, scoring runs, Sheffield Shield level, score runs domestically over here in England, like, is there a wild card there that says actually, rather than be scratching around, we go to the older guard, or is that are those conversations dead in the water?
No, I don't think the conversation's dead in the water, Jamie. I think if Marnus hadn't scored 400s, we'd be having a much wider conversation. I think the Fox Sports press put out like 10 or 11 names at the start of the season, like players to watch. And they went from everyone from Marcus Harris, Cam Bancroft, Matt Renshaw, the guys that have been tried before, all the way out to like the young guy from Victoria, Campbell Callaway, look, Ollie Davies, Jason Sanger from South Australia. There's a lot of names out there, Henry Hunt. The one that really I think has to have front running from an opening batting perspective with weighted runs is Jake Weatherall, the Tasmanian opener. I think he's averaged 50 for the last 2 seasons opening the batting in Tasmania. It's not an easy place to bat. And he scored, I think it's somewhere in the order of, but might not necessarily be something like 700 or 900 runs last season. Hanscom and Harris in particular have tremendous historical records. I think if Australia were looking for a middle order batter, they'd be looking very, very seriously at Peter Hanscom. He scored runs in that last Victoria game. I think he scored 60 or 70 in the Victoria-New South Wales game. He had a great season for your mob over there in the UK as well, across formats. So if this was a more open conversation and there were lots of guys competing for that spot that weren't scoring 300 or 400s, I think we'd be having a much different conversation. And we would be looking at 5 or 6 guys like we were at the start of the year. And not to say that those guys haven't done some good stuff, but it's been a little bit up and down. I think all of them, but it's just that Marnus has just he's made every post a winner, and he's impossible to not have as the front runner to this conversation. But I agree with you. I think if Australia, and look, our options are limited at the moment because Cameron Green's got this injury now. We can't drop Bo Webster from the test team because we still think we need an all-rounder. So if we're not trusting Cam Green's bowling, there's one less spot that we can really talk about, right? So we're not going to drop Green as a batter, so therefore he's going to bat at 3. Smith's going to bat at 4. We're not going to move Steve Smith. We're not going to move Travis Head from number 5, we don't think, because he doesn't really want to, and Australia don't really want to. We have to have an all-rounder at 6, we think. That's Bo Webster. So therefore there's no middle order spots, and it's really only Sam Constas' spot that we could be talking about. I think it would be a slightly different conversation if Cam Green was back bowling, he was hitting 140 Ks an hour, he was making the ball talk, and we're like, okay, we've got a genuine 5th bowling option. Can we bat him at number 6? and then we've now got an opening at number 3. We fill that with Marnus, and then we can still fit Sam Constas in the team. So I think it becomes harder. That Cam Green back makes, I think, a few of the options less palatable from a flexibility standpoint.
Point 2,
number 3 on your list?
Sorry.
Number 3, right. So number 3 is the basement jacks conversation, and it really comes back to where's your head at. I think you mentioned it last week, and it's a point that kind of just got thrown out there, and it kind of stuck in my head a little bit. And the more I thought about it, the more it made sense. I think Travis Head has been up and down of late, and you might have some more stats on that. I think this is a really important series for him to find some form ahead of the Ashes, because in that Australian team, if we want to fight England's middle order fire with fire, we need him to be at his counter-attacking, swashbuckling best. And your view is that he hasn't swashed or buckled anyone for a very long time.
It's not that he hasn't done that, because I think he has, but it's more that he does it. It feels to me like he's becoming a player that does it once every 10 games rather than a consistent performer. And, I mean, you look at his last 10 games, 8, 5, 31, 142 against South Africa in that ODI, 6, 27, 19, 5, 2, and then the last test of the West Indies series, he got 20 and 16. Yeah, exactly. You know, it's so we're sort of, and obviously that is just the last 10 games, but I think there was a point there where I really felt it looks like Travis Head is going to become someone who can really anchor your middle order and be be here for the next 2 or 3 years, be the kind of guy who once every 3 or 4 games plays a match-winning innings, plays an innings of significance. And yes, those numbers are across all formats. But even, I don't know, it just feels like we saw it in the IPL as well. Granted, I think he did play a couple of really valuable innings that are lower scores in the West Indies. You know, that West Indies series was just so
was tough for everybody,
devoid of runs. But yeah, I just starting to feel that I trust him less than I did 12, 18 months ago. And if we've got all these question marks about the top order of Australia, that middle order really needs to feel rock solid to me. And I really like Green. Obviously, Steve Smith's a quality player, but Travis Head feels important if, Bo Webster's still a newish player to the scene, and Carey, who has been in good form, but again, someone who's been up and down at different times of his career.
Yeah, well, I mean, all these guys are dangerous. All these guys on their day could take a test match away from you. I just think what I want to see from Travis Head is consistency and good decision-making. I think a lot of the time Travis Head's sort of default mode when things aren't quite going his way is to just try and smash everything and see what happens and hit his way out of trouble, which can work for you in a T20 game at the top of the order when the field is up. But I think he has that Adam Gilchrist kind of high upside about him where he can take you apart in the space of a session. But what I actually need from Travis Head is a little bit of the Gilchrist, but a little bit more of the border, in that he needs to be able to repel that England attack at times. And I need him to make good decisions around where his off stump is, be able to defend the good ball. And then if he gets a half volley that's outside off, he can flay it to the boundary to his heart's content. And he can attack that point to backward point region as much as he likes. But I need him to be making good decisions around off stump and not thinking, right, if the ball is up, I have to go hard at it because I've got something with my number on it eventually. So that's what I'm looking for Travis Head in this series. I don't think we're going to see it because, what's he going to do? He's going to bat at the top of the order. His mission is to go hard at the top alongside Marsh, M full stop. And the depth of the Marsh has never been deeper. He's been amazing of late, and he's clearly been listening to the pod. And good on you, Swampy Junior. You're just doing a terrific job for Australia, and touch wood, you continue to do so. And look, the Australians actually look like they're having fun. He's said in the media this week, part of his mission as captain is to make the environment fun for the guys. And I think that's from a T20 and ODI perspective, it's going that way for Australia, which is tremendous to see. I'm very happy about it. So well done, Swampy Junior, in terms of your captaincy. That's all I've got from the Australian series. Should we move on? That was a tight 15 minutes on the Australian series.
17.
Yeah, the
17.
the Indian fans will have to tell us what they want to see, because it's an interesting one. We will obviously talk about the games once they play, but for me the only interest is Virat and Rohit being back. But what do we want to see out of those guys? I'd love to hear from the Indian fans, because they only have a few opportunities now to play, for India. And are they going to go through to 2027? Kind of all of those question marks being raised. To me, it feels like it's an important series for those guys, because they get so few games, and they've started it off with this with what seems like the ball's going all over the place, and both of those two back in the hutch. So yeah, Indian fans will have to tell us what they're hoping for from this series.
Excellent. Let's move on. Let's talk a little bit of Pakistan, South Africa. I know you boys on the pod last week, I wasn't with you, we're talking about Pakistan's spin stocks, but yeah, they've kind of changed gear in this next game and found another bowling trump card, a bit of reverse swing from Shaheen Shah Afridi. So yeah, they're actually quietly looking quite good as a test side at the moment.
Well, we touched on it a bit. We will keep this segment short, because we did touch on it a bit last week, and kind of got into how Pakistan's playing and what their plan is at home. Basically, their plan is, let's produce pitches that we're going to take 20 wickets at. And so far, since they've done that, it's pretty much working in terms of how their cricket is, or how their results are going at home. And again, that might be a path to the World Test Championship final for them. If anyone is a fan of spin and you haven't yet watched the highlights of that fourth day, you really need to get on and watch Noman Ali's dismissal of Devalt Brevis, who was, really trying to have a bit of a fight back in terms of, taking on the spin bowling. Noman, it's the dream delivery for a left arm spinner. Bit of pace. Drifts into leg stump, turns sharply, hits off stump, just fantastic stuff. But, as you said, Binksy, in that short intro, I think the fact that Shaheen was able to have an impact, like we just haven't seen seamers have an impact in Pakistan in all these games. It's been Noman Ali and Sajid Khan who've been taking all the wickets. And the fact that they went, actually, maybe there's a place here, because the ball, if we look after this ball, we can get it reversing. And Shaheen, we've talked for years, I feel like, about Shaheen Shah Afridi, about, how awesome it is when he's on top form, and how, he comes in, bowls those swinging Yorkers, cleans people up. He was able to do that with this reverse swinging ball, was able to hit people on the pads, hit the stumps. And yes, okay, it was only, the tail end. He did get one of the early wickets. I think it was Dazorzi in the second. In the second innings,
Verena as well.
Yes, Verena, and that was just that was a stone dead kind of Verena's off the field before the fingers even up. So
it kind of reminded me of Waqar and Wasim back in the day when the tail came on. They would just bring those guys on and just hone in at people's feet, and it was either at your grill or at your big toe. Which is quite uncomfortable.
Yep. And so that's the point. If they can add another string to these spinners that they've got at home, I really think winning all your games at home is a pretty good pathway to getting you very close to the World Test Championship final. So yeah, it's just one to watch, and we'll see if they can continue getting something from their seamers over their next games at home. And obviously this second test is about to start in a day or two's time, so we'll see what happens there.
Yeah. Let's move on to the Women's World Cup. So England and India play today in indoor. We obviously had
a good game.
Yeah, we obviously had a washout yesterday again, and look, I think we're seeing. I think it's monsoon season, isn't it? So we might see a little bit more of that over the course of the next few days. Although the weather in India seems to be a little bit better than the weather in Colombo. Australia already qualified for the semi-finals, but then essentially we've got
South Africa are through too, Binksy.
Oh,
South
they
Africa
went through because
of
the result yesterday, didn't they? Of course, yes. Yeah. So South Africa through.
They are now through.
Yeah. So we've got a little bit of a race. England will hope that they can win one of their final 3 games, and then they go through if they win one of 3. But could be a little bit of a scramble for for those final couple of places. What's taken your interest? I'm just going to kick off and say, for me, I've just really liked the variety in the wickets, and we've seen sort of different games of cricket. But the common theme that has really impressed me is just how much some of these key batters have stood up during the course of the tournament. Alyssa Healy, a couple of hundreds. Beth Mooney played that fantastic innings when Australia were in the poop. Siva Brunt's done the same for England. Heather Knight's done the same for England. Sophie Devine's done the same for New Zealand. We've just seen some absolutely clinical and quality batting. Alongside, clearly, I'll let you guys talk about the bowling, but I think it's been a fantastic tournament. I love the format. I think that the cricket's been really decent quality. The really disappointing thing for me, though, is the grounds are literally empty for the majority of the games. And I just find it heartbreaking, really, when you see that. And we see it in men's World Cups as well, don't we? To an extent. There's only a couple of places in the world where you get sellouts for neutral games in ICC tournaments. And unfortunately, India isn't one of them. We're just not seeing people coming into the grounds. It's sad.
Yeah, it's a big disappointment not to see the games being better attended, because there's some excellent cricket being played. There's some really fantastic games. When we can get games that are like that run to completion, I think that's the biggest disappointment so far, is that we've had, I think, 3 games for Sri Lanka.
This week's been tough, hasn't it?
This week's been tough game. 2 games in Colombo called off. There's been several sort of no results. We'll come to the impact on the New Zealand team from a no result perspective, but. Binksy, just to pick up on your point, like the quality of the batting's been outstanding. I just want to throw a couple of other names out there. Pritika Rawal for India and Shriti Mandana at the top of the order. They have been fantastic for India, and they've really set the tone. And you can throw Laura Wolfart in there from South Africa as well.
Yes, dominant win.
One of the top run scorers. And look, Phoebe Litchfield's running under the radar a little bit, but only 22, 23 years old. Feels like she's been around the scene for quite a while, because she debuted at 15, 16. But the quality of the batting in this World Cup is outstanding. Some of the hitting actually really has kind of jumped out at me. Some of the cleanliness of the hitting down the ground in particular. I was watching some highlights of the Australian games and the cleanliness of the hitting. We'll come on to keepers, Binksy. I've got a keeper note for you. I don't know if you got your black book there, but there's one to pop in the black book. Some sharp work by Sidra Nawaz, the Pakistan keeper in that Australia game,
mate. It was sensational. That leg side stumping was absolutely.
That was
Binksy-esque.
That was
very.
Yeah, it was actually.
It was very.
It was, because it was
pleasing.
right. It was right glove across. It was very, very quality. She's a brilliant keeper. Sorry, I almost swore on the pod there. She's amazing. I've not seen much of her, and this is what happens at World Cups. You see players that you don't ordinarily watch. What else are we going to hit on?
I mean, New Zealand's been nailed by these rain situations. I mean, to be fair to to be totally transparent, they lost a couple of games earlier on in this tournament that really hit them hard. But these 2 games, I think on paper, they were games that you were penciling them in hopefully for wins. To be fair, Sri Lanka put themselves in a reasonable position. New Zealand was going to have to had a bit of work on their hands to chase down what Sri Lanka scored. I think it's just about 250, wasn't it? But then that
was their best batting performance of the tournament, actually. To be fair.
Yeah. And then, had Pakistan in a bit of trouble last night in the game that got rained out. And that, I think, I guess mathematically, like Binksy said before, New Zealand, the White Ferns, still in the hunt. But
would you like some good news, Stu? Because I've got the formula for you. I know what the formula is, right?
I don't know that I want to hear it, because I don't think it's happening.
You don't want to hear it. You know why you don't want to hear it? Because you need England to be your best friend, right? Because
then we have to beat England in that final game.
So what has to happen is England needs to beat India and keep India on 4 points. Therefore, England go through. If England beat India, that hits India's net run rate, helps New Zealand, right? Then what you've got to do is you've got to then beat India, right? There's no progression without beating India. That would put you on 6 points. It keeps India on 4 points. And then, if you beat England, like there is still a pathway. Honestly, there is still a pathway if you don't beat England, but it means that Bangladesh...
There's still a chance.
Yeah. There is a Lloyd Christmas level chance, even if you don't beat England, but Bangladesh would have to beat India, which I can't really see.
It feels
happening.
Very Lloyd Christmas-ish kind of chance. So I'm willing to put a line through the White Ferns.
Really? See, I think if you beat India, you're a big chance. Honestly, because I think England on form will beat India tonight. If the game goes 100 overs. On form, I think England will beat India. Now, look, that's probably cue the bookmakers.
Thanks,
for
Baldy.
India to sorry. But I genuinely think at the moment, England are a better side. I think India have played some terrific cricket. They scored 330 against Australia, but they lost. And they're 2-2 in the tournament. So, there is an opportunity for England to stamp some authority here and prove that, the 7 points that they have are not empty points at this stage of the group play. England have still got to play India, Australia, and New Zealand. Even though they belted South Africa, they still have a point to prove that those 7 points are representative of the level of cricket that they've played and the opposition that they've played in this tournament. So look, there's a Lloyd Christmas level chance for New Zealand, but they've got to beat India.
And I think we should go back to the English crew to finish out this segment, because England. I mean, we gave Australia a lot of chat last week. Everyone sort of knows how good they are, but I'd love to hear. England feels like the side, because they haven't really had the blockbuster games. They've sort of, like you said, they dug themselves out of a hole, but they demolished South Africa. They've had, those 7 points have almost been under the radar because they haven't had these, really tight fixtures like some of these other big games. How are you boys feeling? I know we're always sort of penciling Australia in as the winners, but then every now and again we're like, oh, maybe someone could beat them. Could that someone be England?
I think if England, I think probably what you're saying is that they've probably not hit top gear yet. So they've kind of found ways to win these games or stay in these games without really hitting the levels that Australia have. So I think, which is a good sign, because you kind of don't want to peak too early, I guess. But I think maybe we'll learn a lot more in the India game today. That probably gives us a bit more of an acid test as to where this team are at. And then, like you say, there's still a couple of really sort of bigger games as well for England to play. So I think we'll probably have a clearer idea. They certainly seem a lot more. I mean, some of the issues that have been there in the past seem to have kind of dissipated a little bit. They sort of, I think the fact that players are in form and there seems a greater sense of togetherness and so forth with this unit. So I think there's a lot to be positive about. But I think, take your point, Baldy, that the 7 points so far are probably, is it a good thing they've gone under the radar, or are they kind of not false points, but can we read too much into them because maybe they haven't kind of played the bigger teams, as it were? So
I don't want to take anything away from England at all, but because they smashed South Africa, who look like from that point are a good cricket side. But they still have to play India, they still have to play Australia, they still have to play New Zealand. So of the teams in the top 4, top 5, England still have to play 3 of those teams. So we haven't really seen yet what England can be. And I think they can be a real heavyweight in this tournament, but we are going to find out just how heavy they are going to be punching over the next sort of 4 or 5 days, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. But Baldy, I think they'll be pretty happy with. And I think we were pretty happy with the way that the draw works, and that we got to play the teams that we felt we should beat early doors, and then we've got to the stage where yes, we are going to need to beat, I guess one of the other big sides to guarantee that we qualify. But like Jamie said, I think I've liked the way that the teams looked on the field. I think Charlotte Edwards has done a pretty good job coming in and setting a new a new charter for this team. The fact that we've got some spin options, 3 quality spin options in Lindsay Smith, Eccleston and Dean, and then you've also got a bit of leg spin if you want that as well in the squad. The only concern I have is just the fragility in that middle order at the moment. Sophia Dunkley, Emma Lamb, Alice Capsey. I'd be tempted to think about bringing in a Danny Wyatt-Hodge, just for that, for that experience. Now, typically she's batted at the top of the order, so it would be a different role for her. But yeah, I think, Baldy, to borrow one of your phrases, I'd like to see a bit of stickability in that middle order. So that might be something that I would make as a change. But yeah, I'm pretty comfortable with where that England side's at. And I do think as well, the grounds and the pitches that we play on are going to make a little bit of a difference as to who's the strongest team. England have showed a bit of fragility against the swinging ball, and have dominated bowling wise with their spin attack and a little bit of Siva Brunt as well. Be interesting to see what those plans are against that England team if they do go a little bit further in the tournament. Right, let's move on. Some really, really, really exciting news that we've got a new format of cricket coming. This is from a press release, so this isn't my words exactly, but I couldn't agree more with this. But the game of cricket is set to welcome its 4th format called Test 20. It's a hybrid that blends the strategy of Test cricket with the intensity of T20s. We're going to see the tactical depth of the longest format whilst presenting it as a fast one-day spectacle. So that's coming off the Test 20 explainer. It's the brainchild of a guy. Yeah, it's the brainchild of a guy called Gaurav Bhavanani, founder and CEO of the Test 20. We've got cricketing royalty, and Matthew Hayden as well endorsing this. AB de Villiers, Harbhajan, Sir Clive Lloyd, who've endorsed this innovation as cricket's next chapter. So, guys, are we pumped that we're going to see? Essentially, in short, it's a 40 over Test match, 2 innings of 20 overs. You can still have a draw as long as you've not lost more than 5 wickets. That's pretty much the synopsis, isn't it?
Does it mention in the press release how batters bat with a stick of celery? Or I'm just wondering.
It's celery in the northern hemisphere, rhubarb in the southern hemisphere.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, I'm just checking. That's mentioned in there, is it? Yeah.
Are we bowling with a turnip as well? Is that?
No, it's a 6-minute boiled egg. So
okay. That's going to come onto the bat quite nicely, though. A 6-minute boiled egg is kind of pretty hard. It's quite
with
quite
the shell,
solid
or yeah.
I assume shell on to start with, but as soon as like a Jukes, as soon as the shell wears off, you kind of get more movement. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I didn't think you were going to get much positivity from Baldy after insulting a Queenslander in your opening.
It's just par for the course, mate. I'm used to it. It's water off a duck's back at this point.
Well, but Baldy's already got his hat. Baldy's already bought his plane tickets to see Matt Hayden's nudie run around the MCG.
Have I? I don't know that I had bought tickets to that, but look, if it's on, I mean, I'll buy tickets to a cane toad race if it's got 2 Queenslanders in it. So, look, this format. I'll go first. This format is going to last as long as this conversation talking about this format. I think. I don't think cricket needs 3 formats. It certainly doesn't need 4 formats.
You don't think it needs 3? Gee, that's a whole separate conversation.
I don't think it needs 3
That's
formats.
big. That's big.
Okay.
I don't think it needs 3. I don't think it needs. Well, I don't think it needs 3 formats internationally.
Okay, yeah.
I'm quite happy for there to be T20 in the mix and 50 over cricket in the mix and Test cricket in the mix, but I don't think it needs 3 necessarily internationally on a regular basis outside of World Cups. This is even more Mickey Mouse than. Actually, no, the 100's fine, I guess. I thought the 100 was Mickey Mouse when it was first introduced, but it's become quite mainstream and it's been run very well So I don't know. Convince me, boys, that there's a future in this format of cricket, because I can't see it.
Well, I won't. I don't want too much slander because again, this is another example of Martin Crowe being miles ahead of his time, and the fact that he invented Cricket Max, whenever it was 30 years ago, and we saw this kind of setup where you have two short form games, two short form innings straight after each other. Obviously, a few differences in when Cricket Max first came. I don't believe there's a max zone in this Test 20. I do think it's probably the interest for me. I mean, what we haven't mentioned so far is that it's essentially an under-19 tournament. It says from 13 to 19, so I don't know if maybe it's more under-20s. However they're going to figure it out, it's going to be 6 franchises, 3 based in India, or 3 Indian, one in London, 1 Dubai, 1 in an unnamed, as yet unnamed US city. And it's going to feature 8 Indian players and 8 international players. And it seemed like, it almost seemed from the press release that they're going to find those players using AI. So I don't know quite what that means. I think that essentially it seemed to me like anyone could sort of put their name in. Then there were going to be 300 names and shortlisted into a 96-player auction. That's probably, for me, going to determine, is this something that's of value to the wider cricket sphere? Like, are we going to see, is Suryavanshi playing in this? Is this essentially a showcase of, I mean, they talk about it like they want it to be kind of like the NCAA operates in the US, like here's an ability to put the up and coming stars to actually be able to assess them and see all the best players from around the world in a tournament. If they could pull that off, I don't quite know how they do logistically with all sorts of different travel and, how are they pulling players from 15-year-olds from New Zealand flying over there and playing in this tournament? I don't quite know how all of that.
Only if you can get that off school.
Well, yeah, I don't know how all of this is going to work, but if they are getting the best young players from around the world to play in this tournament, yes, I'm interested. If this is just a gimmick that I don't mind some of the, like, you can bowl maximum of 8 overs each. You can bowl them in the first innings and second innings. I kind of like all the tactical aspects of it. I think that's quite interesting.
Do you like the early collapse clause?
Yeah, that was weird. You bowl them out. You bowl them out in the first 10 overs of your first innings. You get an extra 3 overs in your second inning. I don't quite in your first innings. I don't quite understand how that helps the game, or what's the point of that.
I'm just really surprised that you're giving this any props, especially when you look at the final rule, which is if you lose if the 1 over eliminator is tied, it goes to most boundaries.
Oh, jeepers. It doesn't, does it?
It does, 100%. Super session.
We're done with this format. This format's over.
The thing I would say is like, how is this different to the Under-19 World Cup? Because all the things you talk about there, it being a showcase of like bringing all the best talent together. It's a sort of getting players involved in international cricket and travel and playing in different. That's ultimately what that's for, is it? Yeah, I'm with Baldy. I just see no legs in this at all. This is just a PR thing. Yeah.
Well, I haven't heard anything from Stu that doesn't already, like, okay, there's tactics. Sure, that's what Test cricket's for. That's what I think 50 over cricket for a long time was for. There were various different tactics that you could go hard early, you could save your wickets for the end and go hard at the end. Like, cricket has enough built into the fabric of the game where tactics are important. Young talent can be exposed by healthy and robust first-class systems or the Under-19 World Cup. Like, all of the things that you've talked about, yes, it's great that they're coming together, but they don't provide anything new. The coming together of several things might be in itself new in that we don't have a 2-innings T20 format now. But again, what does that prepare Under-19 cricketers for? Is that trying to prepare them for Test cricket? Because if so,
it's a bit of bob each way, isn't it?
Batting for 20 overs does nothing to prepare young cricketers for Test cricket. Batting for 70 or 80 overs prepares young cricketers for Test cricket, but that's not what this is there for. So, like, what is the, like, and again, I'll come back to it. What is the purpose of this venture? Because if it actually has a purpose and there's a clear pathway to that purpose, I'll buy it. But at the moment, I don't see a purpose for this thing. Binksy, can you help me out?
I got 2 words for you. Alan Stanford.
Well, that's probably a conversation not diving too much deeper in terms of where that story went.
Take me a layer deeper, Binksy. Okay, so Alan Stanford T20 is this?
It just reminds me. I'm not saying the guy that's created it is the head of a worldwide Ponzi scheme. What I'm saying is that
allegedly.
I don't think it was alleged.
Maybe it wasn't allegedly.
I think he was. I think Stanford was convicted, but I remain to be corrected on it.
He was certainly in prison. So, yeah, look, that's not the parallel I'm trying to draw. I just read the sort of press release and the sort of language in it reminds me of the press release that was around that. It was throwing comments out there like AB de Villiers has apparently come up with this line. This is innovation with intent. Matthew Hayden has come up with it's a bridge between eras. And Harbhajan Singh has called the idea a fresh heartbeat for the sport. For me, this is marketing. It's style over substance, and I don't see where it fits for all the reasons that we've talked about. It's essentially 2 games of T20. We've talked about, the IPL now is sitting at around about 4 hours for a game of cricket to watch. If this is, 40 overs, there's timeouts in this as well. So, increase the timers on this. Where does this, where does this compete with ODI cricket? How is the tactics of this, vastly different from the tactics employed in an ODI? In terms of when you soak up a little bit of pressure, when you stick your foot on the accelerator and all that kind of stuff. I just don't see what gap it's trying to fill in an already packed cricketing marketplace. And yeah, if it is an under-19 style tournament, are you really going to uncover anything that you don't know about players by introducing them to this format? Are you going to go, oh, well, he wasn't going to be a 4-day player. Now he is. Like, no, it's just, I just don't see what's the problem it's trying to solve. It's a 1-day game.
Yeah. Here's the potential outcome upside for me for this. If I was this owner, the potential outcome upside I want a stake in an under 19 version of the IPL, right? The outcome upside for this tournament is that it gets blended into and bought out by big IPL owners who then go, okay, well, we're going to run some form of under-19 version of the IPL or similar to unearth both India's and world cricket's next generation of very, very talented 17 to 19-year-olds. Now, that, to a certain extent, is already exposed by the various countries' under-17s and under-19 system. But in the same way that European football got very, very good at the academy system, being able to bring a talented 15-year-old into an academy program for your then Mumbai under-19s to then play for the Mumbai Indians, bringing kids through that pathway and securing their future through franchise cricket is a very, very smart evolution of the already existing IPL structure. So maybe that's the high upside outcome, is that this runs for 2 years like World Series cricket did and gets folded into the establishment. That Live Golf, I thought, was probably their ideal outcome, to run for 2 years and then get folded back into the PGA or what have you. So this could be a way forward for that to happen. And look, if it unearths future great cricketers, then fantastic. But I don't think it's going to unearth future great Test cricketers necessarily through this format. I think it's going to unearth future great T20 franchise cricketers.
Yes, 2 T20s, yeah.
Right.
Right.
So we don't like it on the whole, is what we're saying.
I just don't see the point of it.
Okay.
Like I'm open to being shown the purpose of it and its future direction, but like Binksy, you highlighted it. I don't see what the what the outcome is.
Yeah, all good. Well, look, we've just had an email hit our top order inbox asking if we wanted to be part of the inaugural commentary team. So I guess we'll say that that's a no from us.
I think it could be fun.
Yeah, I really like it.
I think it's got potential.
Well, look, on the upside, boys, back-to-back T20s, that's about 8 or 9 hours of cricket plus timeout. So we could be in for like a good 10 or 11 hour shift between the five of us. So there's look, if they're paying by the hour, sure, look, let's have a conversation.
Right.
And a packet of hula hoops.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to take the executive decision that we are over an hour on what was going to be a 25-minute podcast. So we are going to wrap it at this point. There is some other stuff going on that we could talk about, the qualifiers for the T20 World Cup. We might come on to that in a future episode of the podcast. But for now, that is going to be all we have got time for, legitimately, on our internet plans for this week. So we'll see you on the next episode. Good night.